Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and I'm gonna be streaming King's Choice. And this is just like the sound test for now. Alright, so now I see that that is here getting the sound just right. Time to continue. Like I'm mostly like streaming like the plot and whatnot. And I screen I grinded for resources the day before to be able to have enough armies to push forward. Aves has sent his envoy. Their scornful attitude makes you furious. Your Highness, let me teach you my lesson. Calm down. The last thing I want is to get caught in their trap. Alright, I'll try to compose myself. You're so mature, Your Highness. And time to do battle. Cause like we were invited to do like a peace treaty with like by the king that stole my throne and murdered my father and my brother and whatnot. So obviously everyone is a little on edge because it's uber obvious a trap. Well, last time between the little battles I ranted about Don Quixote and whatnot. I don't remember any other nights. Well, I guess Siegfried counts as a knight. He's he was raised by a dwarven guy, and he realized that he wasn't his father's son when he kept growing and growing, and when he grew up to be like taller than his old man. And the reason why the dwarven had been raising Siegfried because he wanted to steal some dragon's treasure, and since he had failed, he just decided to raise a human child that was physically stronger in order to help him through that nonsense. So then depending on which version of Siegfried you run into, he either gets mad with his adopted father and then he just leaves him or kills him, or he gives the treasure that his father wanted and the father makes him a fancy weapon, and then he tells him that you are your own man and it's time for you to go out into the world to like design your own fate and like make your own destiny and whatnot. So then Siegfried becomes a wandering knight of sorts. Alright, back to this plot. So the greater good you choose to endure, but the envoy became ever more arrogant. Truly a worthy subordinate of Lord As, and so cowardly and timid. About to draw your sword, you... Kerwin, you think a lowly bastard can lecture me? Ha! Lowly Shasta in stopping the imminent chaos. Enough. Lord Envoy, and if you're not here to negotiate, you should leave the city of Nivel right now. Otherwise we stab you with the pointy end and whatnot. But that was like the modality of the day. They gave like this snobby guy a little bit of power, and then he's gonna use it to his full advantage, mostly to pull down his superiors and whatnot to make them fight at his level, and then he wins by experience. Oh yeah, so well, more than anything, so yeah, Siegfried, so then Siegfried goes on and becomes like a wandering knight and whatnot. And while during his travels, he meets a knight that's sleeping by the forest, just resting, sleeping with like the fancy chainmail and whatnot. But then he removes the helmet of the knight. And then he's surprised when a bunch of hair comes out, and then he realizes that the knight he was looking at was actually a lady knight named Brunhilde. And since Brunhilde was the first woman that Siegfried had ever seen, he instantly falls in love with the maiden. And then Brunhilde, she be like, I'm not gonna marry any guy that's weaker than me. So then Siegfried has to prove his strength to Brunhilde in order to show her that he's man enough for her. So then he duels the Princess Knight Brunhilde, and the two of them marry when he manages to defeat her in battle. But then like you would think that everything would be like happily ever after, but then Brunhilde gets into a stupid fight with a different lady named Sigrun. And then, but Sigrun is married to one of Siegfried's friends, and then because of the two women fighting with each other, Sigmund ends up like getting. Oh, well, we'll leave that there for now. The envoy's arrogant attitude seems to have ended the negotiations before they got even started. But just then a voice suddenly broke the deadlock. Stop. The voice was very clear and warm like the sun on a perfect spring day. Time for a boss fight. Let's see if my knights have enough strength to get past this so we can go on to the next chapter. Because like with each days you just get like you start requiring more and more resources to make it through them. The voice is so familiar you often hear it in your dreams. She performs an elegant curtsy, Your Highness. All of a sudden you feel like time has stopped and all you see is Allie's enchanting smile. An apology. When Allie appears, the conflict suddenly abates. A conflict erupts between you and the Throne Usurper's envoy, but Allie's arrival puts a sudden halt to it. Allie, it's been a while. All of a sudden, your mind is engulfed in memories of childhood bliss, making it difficult for you to think clearly. So you must immediately apologize to Her Highness. Well, that's usually how it goes, you know. So yeah, so then Siegfried's wife and the other and Sigrun get into a stupid fight, and then with their husband, and then they also drag their husbands into it because Brunhilde felt that Siegfried had insulted her honor. So then they got a fight, because that's what you used to do in medieval times. Whenever somebody insulted your honor, that was the perfect excuse to go stab your opponent with a stabby end. So then, in a duel for the honor of the maiden, Sigrun gets killed by his friend and whatnot, and then his wife Brunhilde, the angry, kills Sigmund's friend, and then it just ends up like a bloody ending for everyone involved, a la Shakespeare style. So that's basically the story of Sigmund. All of his heroic exploits after all of the dragon battles and all of the things he fought, he ends up dying because of a stupid duel caused by two women bickering over petty nonsense, as it usually happens. So yeah. I guess now, like, speaking about Shakespeare, that reminds me of, well, most folks are familiar with, like, Shakespeare's work and whatnot. I was like, forced to read his work in, like, high school. Like, Romeo and Juliet is one of those things that has, like, ridiculously done to that. Heck, even Juliet is a character in this game. They give her like a fancy pointy, stab it with a pointy end sword. But then again, everyone needed to know like how to use a sword because of like assassins or just or just random people trying to stab you with a pointy. And because it was a very violent, turbulent time, and and just and then just constantly delineating frontiers and whatnot with lots of little cities like killing each other with the stupidest thing. Oh, which reminds me of a story from Don Quixote that I forgot to mention in my previous rant. Eh, like Don Quixote and Sancho Panza were like wandering about, and then they see two armies about to clash against each other. So then he goes out to one of the armies, and then they ask like, "Dude, this is like Spain. We're a freaking unified country. We have a king. Why are these two cities going to war with each other like it's freaking medieval times again?" And it's family coming from Don Quixote, who's playing the role of a knight, but then he be like, oh, this is stupid. So then the army that he spoke to tells him the reason why they're going to war. Uh, One of the citizens, he was very good at mimicking the sound of the donkey, and then he became very famous for it. So then whenever a person from that city would visit their neighbor, then the other neighbors would like make donkey sounds in mockery of them, and then the other city that was getting mocked and being called donkey all of the freaking time, they form an army, and then they're gonna beat up their bullies. So then Sancho Panza be like, I don't see why you make such a big deal about being good at mimicking a donkey sound. I'm actually very good at making donkey sounds myself. So then Sancho Panza starts mimicking a donkey, and then he pisses off the army, and then they get beat up, and then they get beat, and then the army, instead of go fighting each other, they go beat them up. And this is one of those few times where they fight like a real flesh and blood opponent, and they barely escape with their life, with like getting shot by muskets and all of that crazy thing that happened. Allie prevents the conflict escalation and urges the envoy to apologize. Why? Because your words violate royal protocol. Lady Honey, alright, looks at you. Your Highness, please accept my apology. Apology accepted, but next time don't you dare break the protocol in my castle. And the envoy still appears irritated, but his provocations have ceased, and the peace negotiations may now commence. Peace negotiations with swords and pointy ends. But yeah, we're now switching to Shakespeare and whatnot. Like, I was wondering, in Macbeth, his friend Macduff, the one who delivers the killing blow, he tells for those not familiar with it, Macbeth, he visits some weird sisters who give him a prophecy that tells him that he's not going to be slain by any man born of a woman. So then Macbeth be like, wow, so that means I'm immortal. So then Macbeth being urged by his wife, being goaded by his wife, night parades unlocked. Dispatch your knights to battle against other lords and vie for high ranking to increase your prestige. You just as the game progresses, they unlock other stuff. Your Highness, the night parade has begun, and should we send our knights to join the contest? Of course, I know they can't wait to engage in battle. They will surely win glory for our realm. Versatile Knight. The night parades are divided to several levels, and higher level parades come with better rewards. Parades put your knight's attributes to the test, and each knight can only join one parade at a time. And during each parade, the deployed knights are ranked based on their overall attributes, and select your knights strategically and dispatch them to suitable parades. Here's a 9 movie. I guess I just send this guy. Then spend a nearly 35. Oh, I need to get it from the Allegiance store. But my Allie just hasn't like advanced enough to do this nonsense. Oh well, I guess we're not doing that for now. Back to the main plot. Let me just collect the price for leveling up the story. My loyalty stands for nothing but sincere love and friendship. Okay.
Some people speak highly of betrayal, but those are just excuses.
Knight Commander of the Knights. Alright, so we got a new knight. Let me see. One knight that reaches level 120. Oh, that's a tall order.
I despise traitors more than anything. They must pay a hefty price for the king's death.
I guess I'll deal with that when I deal with that. Oh yeah, so then alright, so let's just move the plot along. Since to Allie's arrival, you avoid an open conflict with the Throne Usurper's envoy. Allie, what are you doing here? Kevin, our father sent me here to encourage the peace talks. The Throne Usurper's blood is flowing through their veins, and they bring us nothing but death. Simmer down, and let's hear them out first. And by hear them out, it means get those armies to go stab them with a pointy end. So yeah. So then Macbeth, being goaded by his wife, he decides to go murder his friend, to murder one of his friends. I forgot if it was Macduff or some other guy. Like, I haven't read Shakespeare in a while, mostly because I find it annoying. Like, it's there's something about like the way that like school forces you to read certain things, and then it just like you tend to enjoy books better if you're not being forced to read them at gunpoint, you know? Like, I always remember better books that I read because of my own free will, not because it was a required assignment with tests and whatnot. Anyhow, so then eventually Macbeth makes a bunch of enemies because of his murderous ways, and even his wife goes crazy out of guilt. And then eventually, I think it was Macduff. He shows up to like stop his former friend, because it's just killing and murdering everyone in his quest of conflict. And then Macbeth tells him that, oh, you can't defeat me because the weird sisters told me that I cannot be defeated by any man born of a woman. So then the other guy tells him, but I wasn't born of a woman. And then he just leaves it at that. And then he just stabs and then he kills Macbeth. And then like Shakespeare doesn't explain, or anyone explains, how the hell was he not born of a woman? Was he born of two men? Is he a weird alien and he was born Piccolo style? Or what the hell? Like probably what the Weird Sisters man was a man that was born of a C-section, because technically if you like get born to a C-section, you don't pass through like the usual route that most people take in their path to like being born and whatever. And maybe that's what the Weird Sisters meant when they said that you can't be defeated by a man born of a woman. But yeah, but it's just a weird phrase. Like you know. Or maybe Macduff's mother was had an extra chromosome or something. You know, like you know that like certain maidens, they got like extra Y, genetics in one, just random genetics in one. I'm getting sidetracked. The point is that Macbeth is a weird place. Like another one of those ones that they made me read like in high school was like Antigone. But I don't remember much about it. Like, but then again, I don't remember much of the Shakespeare's play. Like, they entered one ear and left the other. But I'm not here to roast Shakespeare's work and whatnot. Although it would be nice that they would diversify more, like the readings and whatnot. We read one thing of Shakespeare, not like 20 things. There are other writers, like people kept writing after Shakespeare, so why not give some more modern writers a chance? But then again, I can't think of. I mean, maybe recent Stephen King, maybe. Maybe some maybe some Dragonlance. Whatever. Oh yeah, like as far as modern night books are concerned, I have read a few Dragonlance books here and there. Like they're mostly like a mixed bag. Like they suffer from the too many character syndrome. The negotiations have finally begun. The envoy has apologized, but he still has a look of haughty disdain. Los Aves is willing to recognize your title. What are his conditions? You must cede all of the southern territories to Lord Aves. So this is what you call peace, that you're literally asking for war. Alright, bring out the knives. It's like, give me all your stuff. And then I'd be like, no, we're not giving you all of my stuff. Yeah. And what's gonna stop him from asking for more stuff, Like, that saying that you give a mouse a cookie and then you ask for milk and then it asks for something else and you'll never see the end of it. The point is that if a mouse asks you for something, you gotta like run away because why is the mouse talking? A mouse normally are not supposed to talk unless if it's like a giant mutant rodent a la Splinter style. I like Splinter, he's fun. The envoy's conditions are preposterous, and you and your counselors are enraged. If this is what he wants, then negotiations are over. We're not asking for that much, and in return you'll earn us allegiance. Isn't that enough for you? That is the assassin thing that I was offered my father, but in the end he killed him. That's a matter of the distant past, and the times are different today, and if you wish to proclaim yourself the sovereign of this realm, you must let bygones be bygones. Oh yeah, that's very easy for him to say, like. Interrupt the end, but your highness, may I talk to you in private? Sure. And by private, it means let's bring and while we're talking private, let's get the knives out there to get a little bit of exercise. So yeah. I lost my train of thought. Well, that's why most of these rants that go on are unscripted, just working off whatever memories I have of mine. But yeah. I just remember. I was talking about like the Dragonlance books. That they are an offshoot of like the Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. Like if you're like from the US and whatnot, then you're already familiar with like Dungeons and Dragons and if you're not, well, Dungeons and Dragons is basically like a series of books that have curated campaigns and whatnot. It's like for role playing purposes, and then there's a game master that dictates the adventure while the other players act the role of the main characters and whatnot. And they basically roll the dice. Like the best example, like it's Baldur's Gate, but board game version. And it's like a very long running series with, and now you can even play Dungeon Dragons online in their particular website. And it's fun. It's fun for like it's fun for folks, for certain folks and whatnot. It has all taste. And I mostly read the book like I read the books without being familiar with that it was part of like a Dungeons and Dragons scene. Cause since I wasn't like born in the U.S. and whatnot, I'm not familiar with all of their regular pop culture stuff. I just pick it up as the longer I live here and whatnot. And I've been in this place for more than like 30 years and whatnot. So for like most of my life, so whatever. I'm exaggerating. The point is that like the first Dragonlance book I read was the Time of the Twins, which is it focuses on the Mayare brothers, like the twin brothers, but one is evil. Oh my god, like the evil twin is like so played out. Well, evil-ish, Well, he's evil in so much as the only agenda he's interested in advancing is his own. But even he has his basic scruples, and. And eventually they retire the character at the Time of the Twins, War of the Twins, and some other stuff of the Twin book in the Dragonlance. And then I could tell that they immediately regretted retiring the evil twin character, because then they try to find a way to bring him back in other forms, because then should have more books about him, even though he was dead and whatnot. Like, you never kill your cash cow. Yeah, because like they brought him back again as prequels that focus more on him than his warrior brother, and then they brought him back as a fourth ghost in later books where he's guiding like his nephew. And they even found a way to give him a kid that may be his or not his own flesh and blood. But then, why does that even matter if they're twins? So. When you and Allie stand alone, you both fall silent. I'm sorry my father is rude and arrogant and he hurt you. And to rub more salt in the wound, now he's trying to humiliate you. I know, Allie, it's not your fault, and you paid a heavy price for trying to save my brother. But we can't even be sure he's still alive. When you bring up your brother, Allie's eyes fill up with tears. I know what's gonna make us feel better. Let's bring up the knights to stab with the envoy. But yeah, like that was the main issue with that I had with the Dragonlance book, and why it worked a little better the Time of the Twins book, which was like the first one that I read, because in that book that we were only dealing with like 4 characters, and it gave them more breathing room, because it was the Cameron, the Cristania, like the priest chick, and then the other twin that was most of the time far away and not getting any screen time. Well, in the Dragons of Winter, whatever, it was like working with like 30 characters, almost like 10 characters, and they all needed to say at least a line every 10 pages. So then it's like too many characters syndrome. As soon as you mention your brother, you get emotional. I think about him every single day, and I'm so terribly worried about him. And what if I never get to see him again? Allie. I will find him, I promise. Okay, so I guess her brother's not dead, he's just MIA. I hope you're right. Or missing in action. Like I said, like it's very easy to disappear in medieval times if you're like, because since there's no internet and like just drawings of you and whatnot, and most of the folks are illiterate, you can just like move to another country and start from scratch. And by moving to another country in medieval times, you wouldn't have to go very far because countries in medieval times literally just small little cities, you know? Like a country in medieval standards would be like, if you live in Miami, would be a country, and then like Orlando will be some country, just very small, very tiny territories. That's a very crazy, turbulent time. With everyone stabbing each other with a pointy end and whatnot. Also, like another thing with the magic in the Dragonlance ones, like of the few books I read, like it's sometimes very inconsistent. Like sometimes but mostly with the spell components. Sometimes Raslin needs the spell components to cast, but other times he can trick himself into into not needing spell components in order to use his magic. So it's sometimes type of deal. As well as it's the owner that it acts up whenever it's only plot convenient. But most of the time you should act up whenever it's in a stressful situation. Whatever, which is like all the time, cause like he finds people annoy him, and his brother annoys him, and everyone annoys him. Like a good fantasy book that I like a lot is the Dark Lord of the Hold, which is actually more of a parody of high fantasy. And it's about a fantasy world where the people make their money by putting on shows for aliens. So then they just pretend to have like those have fantasy medieval battles and whatnot, and giving them the Dungeons and Dragon illusion type of situation. And then every year they pick a different magic user in order to play the role of the supervillain. And then this guy from their hold ended up being the winner of it. So then he likes to, and then his quirk is that he likes to he's more of a ranger type of magic user because he has a lot of like griffins that are related to him by blood, which he made with his wife using his blood and magic, which is hilarious, but whatever. And then but he always had a problem with demon summoning, which which makes perfect sense. Every time he would try to summon a demon, it would always be like this weird three-legged blue demon named Triples. But then this time when he tried to summon a demon, it ended up being and then when he summoned the demon, it just wreaked havoc because it kept disobeying him, and it was like a whole scene to try to exercise the high demon, and then he was forbidden from like doing demon magic ever again because all of the chaos he caused in his magic school and whatnot. And it just has a very fun world building type of thing, and it's a pity that it only ever got one book. Like the dialogue of the whole was written by the same person who wrote House Moving Castle, so you know that they know how to do magic. Thanks to your words of comfort, Allie gradually comes down. I wish I could stay and talk with you longer, but we both know it's not possible. Still, she stealthily looks around and then takes a deep breath. The envoys didn't come to talk peace. I thought so. They just came to stir trouble, and now that you're still consolidating your reign, my father wants you to start a war. I see, but I'm not scared of war. No, please, don't let your emotions get the best of you, and my father has a powerful army, and you will stand a chance against him. Yeah, my former army, because he stole it. But knights these days, for the most part, they're completely relegated to like the realm of like fantasy. Like they don't do knights without. But then again, even knight stories back in the old days, they always had a big magical element. Like for every King Arthur, there was a Merlin. And like Merlin, he was based on like a historical figure that was just a very wise type of ruler. And then he got over the years deified and whatnot into he went from like just being a very wise ruler to just being a very wise or powerful wizard. And it tells you about Aves's plan. Look what happened to your brother, and I don't want you to end up like him. As she speaks, Allie starts crying and tears running down her cheeks. I want to protect you just like your brother used to. Oh, that's cute. One shouldn't be in a hurry to like get into war. But yeah. Like Merlin used to be like, yeah, so where was I? Yeah, like Merlin used to be like powerful, like just a very wise ruler and whatnot. Like in pop culture, like in terms of something else in movies, like Merlin doesn't like show up that much. And even like in the old days, as far as like our history and in like the romanticist painters and whatnot, there was actually more like people, instead of like painting King Arthur, they would prefer to paint either Merlin or Lancelot. So even though King Arthur was like the main character, everyone else who read his books and their stories and his legends, they found more interesting like the side characters, especially Sir Lancelot and Merlin. And you gotta like remember that Sir Lancelot, he stole King Arthur's wife. Because he was such a, because that's just what you do. I said, like Sir Lancelot be like, oh, I feel fealty to you and I should protect everything your stuff. And like, ooh, hot young wife. No mind if I do, King Arthur? And then he just up and took her. And that even caused like a war between them, you know. It got into a little bit of a Helen of Troy type of situation between King Arthur and St. Lancelot. Because like obviously, dude, you stole my wife. I bring you into my house and I knight you and you steal my wife? Allie's anguish breaks your heart. Promise you won't start another feud with my father. Obey, so well, it's too early to like be getting into battles. I promise I'll consider your advice, Allie. I'm happy to hear that, and nothing is more important to me than your safety. But if you could, I just I don't know if it's like the right choice or not, but I personally think that it's like that it's too early to get into a stupid fight. And as Kill Bill once said, like revenge is a dish best served cold. Alice's face is filled with joy. Worry, with you so devoted to me, won't I be able to hurt you? Shaking her, don't worry, I am his daughter after all, and I believe he still has some principles left. I wouldn't count on it. So do I. Alice shook her head and silently taking your hand as if to calm your worries. I don't know. I would just be very red flag about it, Ali, because in medieval times, if he hasn't hurt you yet, Ali, I think that her father probably has other plans for her because within the nobility in those days, inbreeding was very common, and this was more true in the Habsburgs. And they even developed a genetic malformity called the Habsburg lip, because since they wanted to keep all of their power within the family, it got to such a point that uncles were marrying their nieces. They were just that inbred, but obviously eventually that led to problems that all of the new heirs that they couldn't like produce any new children because their genetic pool got ridiculously small. Like even like remember the famous painting of Velázquez, La Menina, that is about the little princess. It's a very famous painting, almost as famous as La Mona Lisa. Well, what people are just familiar with like her look and whatnot, but what they're not aware of is that the reason why she was very important was because she was the first healthy princess that the Habsburg family had managed to produce. Because for like a couple of years, the mother of the chick or the princess of the princess, la menina. Well, she wasn't a menina. The menina is the name of her little maid. I think her name was the Infanta, which is Spanish for princess, Maria Teresa. The time you spent together was fleeting, and a guy rushing in, breaking in the peaceful moment. Your Highness, the envoys and Kevin are fighting. Let's take a look. But yeah, that's why she has so many paintings and whatnot, cause she was the last hope that they had for the Habsburg. You know, like the last healthy princess. So even though she was a woman, she was like very important because through her the Habsburg family line was gonna be able to continue. But surprise, surprise, they married her to one of her first cousins, and then they also married her a little bit too early, and then the poor princess, she ended up dying like at the age of 16 from childbirth, and she died. The kid died. It was a huge family tragedy, all born from the greed of their family that value keeping the money within the family and not the health of their descendants. Your men are locked in a fight with Aves envoy, and Allie promptly rushes over. Stop! Your Highness, what's going on here? What's going on is that they're getting into a stupid fight as guys usually do. Oh yeah, so like other crazy, like even just the European monarchies, they had like very colorful lives and whatnot. Like more like for example, like Henry VIII, like people only know him as like the guy who founded his own church because the Pope, the Catholic Pope, didn't let him get a divorce. So then he'd be like, I'm gonna create my own religion with blackjacks and hookers, and forget the hookers. Like remember, I'm just making a reference to Bender. That when they threw him out of the casino or out of a bar or anything, he always says that he's gonna make his own bar or his own thing. So then King Henry VIII was like that. That he founded his own like religion and whatnot because they wouldn't let him get a divorce. Cause like his first wife, the one who was the mother of his successor. His first wife, he couldn't just decapitate her like all of the other women that followed because she was very well connected and she had the protection of like the Pope. So then, like all of the other poor women that followed, the reason why he was able to decapitate them was because he turned out into his placing a lower like ranking woman. And the reason why he got into the whole divorce scenes and the whole vibe and whatnot was that one day he was like in a jousting competition and then he fell off his high horse. And then they gave him a leg injury that made it impossible for him to like ride a horseback, and he was in chronic pain all the time. So then, since he was constantly in pain, as is tradition among violent ruler men, he took his rage out on the woman unfortunate to be his wife. So then, since his first wife wasn't putting up with his nonsense and kept calling him a lot of his nonsense, he just decided to divorce her to find himself a new doormat. And he even exiled the Princess Elizabeth, that after he croaked in, Queen Elizabeth was his successor. Or was he succeeded by Bloody Mary? I forget. No, yeah, I think it was Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, and like as with most of everything, like she informed her decision like based on how her father ruled. So then she just said like, well, my father was a tyrant, so I'm just gonna do the exact opposite of what he did. And since she was traumatized by the fact that like her father like decapitated every woman that he married to, she be like, I'm not gonna get a king. She's not gonna marry. Queen Elizabeth is not gonna share her power with anyone. And she was mad about it because she didn't want to share the same fate as her mother. Or all the other women that were unfortunate enough to be married to her crazy father, Henry VIII. And she also had like her little harem. Like she made like the mythology says that she was a virgin queen and whatever, but you can say what, but you gotta remember that the one who writes history is Queen Elizabeth. So obviously, all we know from modern times is what the Queen Elizabeth wants you to know. Because like it's usually the rulers and the kings who create the history books, because history books during those days and even during the Roman time were just propaganda from the government. So every history book you gotta take it with a pint of salt, and only like believe half of what you read. Fearless indignation grant points at the envoys. They keep provoking us, and they make vile remarks about you and even dare to slander your father. If I don't protect my friend's reputations, I can't call myself a knight. This time I agree with Kerwin. You jerks, your highness, you must punish them. I'm not gonna punish them. You picked a fight and that you couldn't win, and according to the dueling rules, if you pick a fight, you gotta like start with a pointy end. Don't pick a fight you can't win. So yeah, we were talking about Queen Elizabeth's harem. So yeah, you just think of it as how in this game, how if you play as a lady character, you end up having like a bunch of little lovers and whatnot. And if you don't have space for an heir, you just put him elsewhere in the game. Because the only child that's considered legitimate is the one that is born through marriage, and since she didn't have any children that were born through marriage, then she didn't have anyone to call her legitimate heir. So and like since the monarchy is sacred, obviously they keep every dirty little secret under wraps. To protect your honor, your men attack Aves envoy. It is you who should be punished and get out of my castle. And what did you just say? Get out of my castle, you're not welcome here. This is Sparta! And then she throws him out, and then she throws him into a pit. Yeah. I like that. I like the Sparta movie. It's just hilariously crazy. Yeah. I was at the end it's starting to have a now they use half a million and for per battle and whatnot. They're really shipping away my troops and whatever, but I'll manage. I think I have enough resources to do at least to do a decent amount of the plot. But yeah, it's just research management, and I'm really good. I'm really good at math. I'm doing math stuff. And another battle. But yeah, among the other things that Queen Elizabeth had, we all know her little army of pirates. Yeah, so basically, their only job was to go rob the Spanish, who were her enemy. And they were called Corsarios, I think. And even one of the head pirates was also one of her was a member or was an honorary member of her little internal harem and whatnot. Like the one who ends up being her successor is I think it's like the Prince of Mary Stuart, who was the Queen of Scotland. I think it was Scotland. Yeah, Scotland. And she ends up being a prisoner of Queen Elizabeth. I actually read not the biography of Queen Elizabeth, but of her enemy Mary Stuart. And the important thing about her story is that Mary Stuart is the first European monarch to be decapitated. And Queen Elizabeth was very hesitant about ordering the death of her cousin because she knew that was going to have ramifications, because before then the kings and queens, they were above the law. So they could order so technically Mary Stuart could order an assassination on her cousin Queen Elizabeth and get away with it, because since she was divinely appointed, the laws of common man didn't apply to her because of God reasons. But then Queen Elizabeth, she in the end caved into pressure, and she ordered her cousin to be decapitated. So then, 300 years later, the execution of Mary Stuart for conspiring to assassinate her cousin was used in the trial of the French. What was the name of I have it on Marie Antonietta and her husband during the French Revolution. So that decision that Queen Elizabeth did had historical ramifications, and it led to the decapitation and the fall of a bunch of monarchies. So it's interesting to see how one decision made many years ago led to like practically the end of the monarchy in modern times, because these days most of the like most people don't take like the any monarchy seriously. You desire to protect your men and expel the envoys. Your Highness, this is a declaration of war. Your Highness, please think before you act. Allie, I'm sorry. Now that my honors are state, I can't make any concession, and if you want war, then that's what you get, and I'm not scared of you. You regret your decision. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. That's most things, you know. Well, if it's like antagonizing my staff, then what do you expect me to do? Just sit there? Well, he's just following orders. Provoke a war by just being a jerk about stuff. But yeah, like the reason why like Mary Stuart ended up being in jail in Britain was because she may or may not had murdered her husband. Like it's a bit sketchy. Like and most historians think that she did it, while others think that it was somebody else who did it in order to frame her. Well, the long and short of it is that one day her husband, the king, went up in smoke. Like he was assassinated in like the most with dynamite. That's like, like that is one of the most craziest ways to like for a king to get assassinated. They just throw dynamite. They just like dynamite the house where he's at, and literally he goes up in smokes. An open conflict arose between you and the boys, putting halt to the peace talks. As the envoys prepare to leave, you and Allie are separated yet again. Reluctantly, she is looking at you. I don't know if we'll ever see each other again. Allie. Goodbye, Your Highness. Bye-bye. Well, I noticed that like when you're loading this game, like Allie appears as one of the main consorts of a king's choice. So I have a feeling that we are going to see her again in like a later chapter. I call it like a feeling. So yeah, let's see. Other crazy factoids to tell. Medieval factoids. I guess I could tell you about the fancy statue of the David, and what it has to do with like and why is it like most people see like the David and they think it's like a religious sculpture thing. Cause that was cause like in the Renaissance, in the early Renaissance, and like even before then, most of the works of art were done by had to have religious subjects. And part of the reason why it was that was because the Catholic Church in those days was the only one that had money to employ artists. Like the rest of the folks were just struggling to like survive, and like artists, they were given the like being a painter or a sculptor, you had the same rank as somebody who makes a chair or a door. They were part of the craftsman guild. They weren't considered like they were underappreciated, and then they were like super blasé about it. And like Michelangelo, he was one of the first painters to like achieve like they used to call him El Divino or the Divine. He was the first artist that like became like one of the first artists that like became uber famous, and Michelangelo had enough fame and clout in order to like even push the Pope around. And that was something that during the Renaissance period you couldn't like do easily, like tell us the Pope. But then again, during Michelangelo's time, Michelangelo lived for like 80 something years, and during his time, like 5 different popes passed by. So then since it was such a turbulent time in Italy with like the Medicis going back and forth and fighting. Also during Michelangelo's time, the Medici, they invented nepotism. And like nepotism in the modern sense is when your employer hires like his best friend or like his daughter or whatever. But the actual word that was but the actual word is based on an Italian word that means that you're hiring your cousin. And that was something that the Medici used to do. That the Medici priests they would put in within the Catholic Church. They would put all of their cousins in important positions in order to funnel the money from like the church into their personal bank account. And obviously, since like and they also sold indulgences. So since the Medicis had turned the Catholic Church into its own personal piggy bank, obviously that was causing tensions and a lot of wars within Italy. Because while all of the other countries like Germany and Spain and Britain had already figured this stuff out and they were a unified country and whatnot, in Italy they were still technically stuck in a feudal system with each of the little city states fighting over control, like Venice fighting Florence, fighting Rome and whatnot. My friend, why don't you allow Allie to stay? Because I need to focus on my revenge and nothing else. It's all my father's fault, and he's the one who caused all this suffering. You say nothing as you watch Allie's silhouette disappear in the distance and you clench your fist. Gotta focus on revenge. Well, you let one brother stay, so why not let the other one, and then you can have two. Whatever, but that's a decision that the game didn't allow me to take. But yeah. So I'm just telling you that Venice and Rome didn't get along during those days. They were each their own little country within a country, each working for their self-interest. So then Venice, or was it Florence, they asked Michelangelo to make a David. And the reason why David was so important because David was was a symbol of the resistance, because they were standing out to the Goliath that was the Catholic Church of the Medici in those days. Well, I think this is like a good place to leave it, and a lot of resources to continue with like the main plot and whatnot. And I hope you like the little history lectures and miscellaneous little night stories that I told you while I streamed this game. So I'm gonna see if I can stream this game again tomorrow. And I hope you have fun. Bye bye and God bless. Please give a like and subscribe if you had fun.